Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about their marketing missteps, mishaps, and things that didn't go as planned. Most importantly, we share the lessons learned with all of you, our listeners. I am your host. I'm Christy Mitchell. I am a marketing strategist, and I work with service based business owners who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business. And they know in order to take things to the next level, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am excited to welcome Jared Gibson to the show. Jared is the co founder of Outworks, a marketing agency specializing in helping founders and executives in the professional services and SaaS industries craft impactful LinkedIn content and growth strategies. Throughout his career, he's led both sales and marketing teams fueled by a deep passion for growth marketing. Jared firmly believes that when executed effectively, LinkedIn can be a game changer for building trust and staying top of mind with your ideal buyers. With that, I will welcome Jared to the show.
What's up? How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm pumped to talk all things marketing strategy with you.
Yes, I am excited as well. I always like to give our listeners a sense of how I know my guests. So we were just chatting about that briefly before we went on. Tim O'Hara gets a nice little shout out today for connecting us. And yeah, we've been connected on LinkedIn for the past few months. I absolutely love what you're doing at Outworks because I agree that LinkedIn is a very powerful platform. And today, I know our plan was to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you see related to the clients that you're helping build their kind of founder led plan and their strategic plan on LinkedIn. So, where do you want to kick things off today?
Ooh, we could head down many different roads for this one. You know, anybody that we talk to and that comes to us is, it's I don't have time to do this, right? I understand that I should be doing this. I'm a B2B business. LinkedIn is the only B2B platform. Like it or hate it, it's what's there right now. So there's no time to do it. I don't have the resources to do all this stuff. I have all this stuff in my head and I don't know where to put it and all this. I hate social media. That's another one. But if you take all the different reasons people typically do, it boils down to two things. One, it's not a priority for them. If they wanted to make it a priority, it would be a priority. And then two, and I think that this is the biggest one, it is outside of comfort zone. If
Yeah.
they have not been active on social media, and I'm just saying social media in general, but on this I'm talking about LinkedIn because you can post pictures of your family and your ski trips on Instagram and all that stuff. But when it comes to LinkedIn, it's like this is my business right now, so I don't want to mess with anything or say the wrong. So it's outside of comfort zone for a lot of people to put their thoughts down and become a thought leader on LinkedIn. I think I do quotes
Yes.
too much, but
Yeah.
to become a thought leader on LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
like the biggest piece of advice I have is like just get out of your own way. Like if you
Yes.
believe that this is something that you should do to grow your business, to support your sales team, to support your marketing team, to generate conversations, then you have to do it.
Yeah. I absolutely love what you're saying. And I see the same thing from a broader level, just in terms of like overall strategic marketing planning. You're so right. I hear the same thing. It's like, oh, I don't have the time to do it. What is not making the time really mean? I created content on this towards the end of last year. Like, I think we use time as an excuse, right? Because the reality is we make time for the things that are important. And so I absolutely love what you're saying is that it's really a matter of prioritization, and probably closely followed right with that is the comfort level or the discomfort with doing something new. So
Mhm.
I absolutely love that. I just want to hammer home on that again and kind of give our audience that as something to consider if we're saying we don't have the time for a strategic marketing plan or being more active on LinkedIn or whatever it is in our business, especially as it relates to marketing for this conversation. Is it really a matter of time, or is it probably more related to not prioritizing it and maybe having some discomfort or unfamiliarity with it?
Yeah, I will. So my story of how I started Outworks and started creating content, um, I've been in everybody's shoes, right? Like when we started Outworks, like I knew that I had to be active on LinkedIn. I was a once a month poster on LinkedIn. If something popped in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to throw this out there. I don't know anything about what metrics matter or anything like that. But when we started the company about 2 years ago, it was like, okay, I have to post at least 3 times a week. So I need to put together a strategy around this and I have to be intentional with this, right? So my partners, I have two co-founders, we got together and we established what my content pillars would be. What are the things that I'm going to talk about? And it's been very consistent for me. And it was like, it is a priority. I have this, one of these remarkables, and I have my weekly like win the week that I put together on Sunday night. And at the top of win the week, I have all the things I need to do that week are post at least 3 times, every single one. It's like I have to get these done. So I had to put like a content hat on, which is weird
Hmm.
to say. Like it became almost like a lifestyle
Yeah.
where I was journaling, and journaling, I say like I have the notes app in my phone where I would like be out golfing or I would be with the kids at like some play thing or whatever or in the shower. And I'd have an idea of something I could potentially talk about, like whether that's something from my sales past, something from my like a past job, whatever that is. And I would write it down. Now I have way too much written down. And it's that Seinfeld approach of like, he wakes up in the middle of the night and he writes down a joke on a pad and he keeps it and he's got books and books of jokes that he'll probably never tell, but he still writes them down. So
Hmm.
that became a process for me and it made life so much easier rather than having to figure out like, okay, I got to post today. What am I going to post? Well, I've got an entire journal of things that I can talk about that I always draw back to, which is very helpful. So I've been in people's shoes and I understand it's outside of comfort zone, all this stuff. But when you do it and you're consistent with it and you don't let like the crap posts get you down, like it definitely works and it pays off in the long run.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's so many different directions we could go with this. I absolutely love that you started with content pillars because that's a process I take my clients through because it's easier, right? Like you say, to get in this habit to kind of make it a new way of life, a lifestyle. As you said, having those, I call my content pillars with my clients, like I call them guide rails. It's like, okay, anytime you go to create content, like it's got to fall in these guide rails because then we know it's rooted in strategy because I do the whole, buyer persona exercise, content strategy framework. We do all of that work together. But I'm curious, how did you create those content pillars? Just because I know the process I use with my clients, but I'm curious, how did you and your co-founders kind of create these content pillars, and then how does that work with all these ideas that you get on a regular basis?
Yeah, so we kind of root them at the basics. Like the basics are, okay, your domain expertise. Like what does your company do? What do you help your clients? Like what challenge do you help solve? So that's kind of one pillar where, okay, we can talk about that, but that's a no-brainer. Obviously, we're going to talk about that. The other
Hmm.
one is more of the thought leadership piece of it, where it's like, okay, your domain expertise is in this niche, but there's an overarching industry here. So for example, like we focus on founder-led content for LinkedIn, but that's one of my pillars. But I have another pillar that is I talk about sales and marketing leadership, like and where we are in the sales and marketing world today. Like my background's in sales, I've been done marketing obviously, but I have opinions on a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily touch what I do at Outworks, but I still have opinions on things, and I think opinions
Hmm.
matter. I think I drive home and we drive home with our clients' opinions. You have to have opinions. It can't be
Yeah.
cookie cutter BS that everybody else is saying. Like, if you really want your content to resonate, like, let's talk about what your opinion is on this. So, Forbes just came out with this story about AI and sales and how they're using it. What's your opinion on? Let's talk about it, right? So, overarching thought leadership journey, your journey, your story is so important. Like people want to know what your story is, and that story is going to build trust. So, how did you get from where you were to where you are today? I'm guessing you stepped on a bunch of landmines and you messed up many of times. Like there's people coming up from behind you that you can help avoid those landmines. So
Yes.
tell your story, tell your journey, tell where you screwed up multiple
Hmm.
times and how you got back, all this stuff. Like, so that should be a pillar. And then the other thing is, and this is like again the basic, the general basis, but then we have like our initial interview with the client where we talk to them and we get a little bit more granular. The last one then is, and this is somewhat controversial, I'm a believer in the fact that the days of you saying this is LinkedIn, not Facebook, get that, stuff back over on Facebook. I think the pandemic gave us a sneak peek into the lives of these CEOs and executives, and we saw the kids running around, and this is all stuff that we really liked. And that's why
Yeah.
founders are now stepping out from behind.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you're doing outside the 9 to 5 or whatever your hours are, right? You may
Yeah.
be an avid skier or a golfer or a swimmer or a knitter, whatever it is. Like,
Hmm.
let's talk about that and relate that back to business and relate that back to
Yeah.
your business journey. So those are kind of the foundation that we start with, and each person has their own story. So our
Hmm.
job is to draw the story out and then finish off with what those pillars ultimately are. And then
Yep.
each interview that we conduct with our clients every month, we relate it back to their pillars, top, middle, and bottom of funnel focus.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that. Love the process there. I'm totally in agreement with that more personal content that does relate back to business, right? I'm not just going to post about what I had for breakfast, but yeah,
Yep.
I'm going to tell you a story about my kid and how he made a checklist the other day. And I was so proud because I'm like, this is what I do. This is how I stay organized in business and how I get things done for my clients. So I think that, yes, absolutely 1000%. And I think that that is still something that so many business owners struggle with in terms of like how I posted about this too recently. How do I share more about myself in a personal way to help people get that sneak peek into me and my life and my history without it like feeling so incredibly uncomfortable, because it does. So how do you kind of help guide your clients on that struggle?
So, all right. So, are we talking about your post from today? That was
No.
your post from
Oh,
today with the
yes.
picture at the bottom
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
was great, right? Because I think it ties back you, your kids, what they're going through, what you're working through. Again, this
Yeah.
is stuff that's building trust. But
Yeah.
then your post actually talks about like relating it back to business and just how
Hmm.
it's a different kind of business when you're talking about potty training or whatever the kids are doing around that.
Yeah.
Um, so I believe that like personality is so important. Like having your personality added, and I'm in awkward situations, I resort to humor. Like I just go to humor. So I try to add my personality and humor to a lot of the content that I put out there, and I think that that resonates with people. I don't know if you're doing yourself any favors if all you do is talk about the same thing on every single post, right?
Hmm.
You may be the smartest person in the world, um, but if your content is stale and it's the same thing over and over and over again, I just don't know if that's helping. Maybe it's helping you stay top of mind if you're consistent with it,
Yeah.
which is good. But the goal is for the algorithm well, that's a whole another rabbit hole we can go down, to recognize what you're doing and who's
Yep.
interacting with your content so that they start to show more people impressions.
Hmm.
So you want to get these impressions going.
Right.
Um, and if you're not creating, your own real personal brand, and showcasing who you are, like, then I just I don't know if it's going to be worth your time to actually do all
Yes.
of this.
Yeah, I totally agree. So yes, that was the example that I had. It was like fresh in my mind because I just posted about it yesterday, about the dogs and the checklist my son made. Um, but what so
Oh,
it's
those
and
were
I
dog. That was those are
yes,
dogs.
it was the dogs,
I
it was
thought
the
so.
dog potty
My
checklist.
comment didn't make any sense at all. Whatever.
It was kind of hard to read the sticky note. Yes, my son made, for those of you who are like, what post are we talking about? My son made a little checklist for me because I slept in one day over the weekend and he had taken care of the dogs. He fed them and let them out and let them back in. And he wanted me to know who peed and pooped. And so he made a little checklist with the dog names and the check boxes. So yes, it was very cute.
Yeah.
As soon as I
So
saw it, I was like, this has to go on LinkedIn. Like I have to
yeah.
post about this.
But
It's too good not to.
but you had the content. That's what I'm saying. When you have to have like, it has to be a lifestyle. Like
Yes,
you got
it
that, and you
is.
immediately thought like, there's something here. I just got to figure
Yep,
out how to tie it back. That's so
exactly.
important to do. So ignore my comment then. that I left
Okay,
under
I'll
there.
ignore it. I didn't see it yet.
You're gonna see it
But
and be like,
so
yeah, this doesn't make sense.
so here's the thing, Jared, because I know personally, because I have walked this journey myself with like, okay, how do I start to open up? How do I post things? Like I always tell people like it is a journey. It's not this like overnight, like all of a sudden you're just gonna like know how to do this. Like you have to be patient and know that it's a process. But to the business, I'm sure you have had clients in this space where they're like, I don't want to talk about my life on LinkedIn. Like, what do you tell them?
We try to tell them that up front before they go in, right? It's like this is
They have to
what
agree that they're gonna open up.
this is what moves the needle. Like this is what works.
Yeah.
This is what doesn't work. Sometimes, you know, one of the things that we do have clients like that, right? But the goal is, all right, let's crawl, walk, run here. All right, this is outside
Yes.
of your comfort zone. So we want you to trust us more than just like you do right now. Like work
Hmm.
with us, like work with Kelly. Kelly's one of my co-founders that conducts the interviews with our clients, and he's really, really good at what he does. And our clients trust Kelly, right? So Kelly over time can ease in certain questions or certain topics, right?
Yep.
But we need to make sure that our clients are comfortable talking about it. So
Yep.
Kelly gets to know them really on a one-on-one level so that then he can prep the next set of questions to whatever it is that is not just their domain expertise.
Hmm.
And our clients open up to it over time. Like, and we always tell
Yeah.
people, like, listen, if you're trying to do this and you're looking for massive results in 2 to 3 months, like, save your money. Like, this is not, or like,
Yeah.
try
It's the
put your
long
time
game.
and effort into something else because this is definitely a long game.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And I think that's why we hit it off so well the first time we chatted, because there's just so much. We believe, I think, in a lot of the same like core values when it comes to organic marketing and content marketing and all of those things. So yes, patience is key. And I love, the whole, crawl, walk, run, we got to take baby steps and like ease into it. That's what I do with my clients too. It's like, okay, this feels really uncomfortable. So what's like a happy medium? How can we like meet in the middle and start doing something to kind of get the ball rolling and then grow from there?
yeah.
Because it's not going to be an overnight. You're not going to grow in comfort level overnight. You're not going to see results overnight. All of it takes that patience and consistency.
They have to be it's got to be like we talked about at the beginning too, like a priority versus outside comfort zone. Like
Hmm.
if it's outside comfort zone, but it's a priority, we can work with you. If
Yeah.
it's outside of comfort zone, but not a priority, meaning you're not intentional with your actions, that's going to
Yeah.
be the hard client where it's like, we are trying to crack this nut. Like it's just not working. Like
Yes.
you're not coming
You have to
prepared.
decide
Like
if
we're
yep.
not experts in your domain, whatever that ends up being. Like, so we can get you to like 85% of the way there, but that last 15%, nothing happens. It's good if that 15% that we need from you is not being brought to the table every time that we interact, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's just in general for anybody. Like, it's if you're doing it on your own, like you've got to be intentional. You've got to make it a priority.
Hmm. Yes, definitely. I totally agree with that. And it's right. I think for founders, it is, you have to be honest with yourself. And is it something that I want to prioritize? I just need someone to help lead me down that path. Cause again, I think I can see similarities there in terms of like clients that I work with and clients that you work with. It's like those ones who are like, they're eager to do it. They just need someone to guide them on that journey because it is new and unfamiliar and they're not sure what to do. So I think I'm guessing we both really enjoy working with those types of business owners who are like, all right, I
Yes.
know we got to do this. I just need someone to show me. And it's like, okay, let me be your partner on that journey.
And it's like trust us. Like trust us. Like if we get like, hey, this doesn't feel comfortable for me, but I trust you guys. Like that's like
Yes.
awesome. Perfect.
Yep.
Trust me. And then you know what
Hmm.
happens? We post it, they get a bunch of engagement on it, and then the next time we talk to them, they'll shoot us over a text and be like, "Hey, awesome. Glad you guys pushed me.
Yes.
Great."
Yep. Oh, it's such a fun process to go through with clients.
Yeah, and there's the other side of it. There's another side of it we don't need to get into, but yeah.
Well, okay, so that bears in mind though, right? The name of the show is Unfudge Your Marketing, right? So typically I'm talking to business owners about the things that didn't go well for them in terms of their marketing. So and I do want to take a step back just because I always like to be mindful of the variety of people and business owners who listen to this show. how do you explain founder-led content if someone's like, what exactly are you guys talking about?
Yeah, so founder-led content. So we talked a little bit about this at the beginning, where there was, I would say pre-pandemic, it was like the content strategy back then, for the most part, was company branded content, right? That's typically what you saw on LinkedIn. That's what you saw like white papers, like everything is company branded content.
Mm-hmm.
Then the pandemic happened, and again, we talked about this, where we started to see what was going on in the backgrounds at homes of founders and executives, and people really gravitated toward that. And those executives, those founders started stepping out from behind the company brand, that kind of faceless brand that nobody really knew about, like, because people cliche to say they buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
Founders and executives started to understand that, and they started to step out and they started to build their personal brand. And their
Yep.
personal brand, while at one point in time may have been saying that's selfish, it's not selfish at all. You build your personal brand, you put your personality out there, you show people like your expertise in other areas, like you're building trust, you're building, you're staying top of mind. That trust then again will transfer back over to the company brand.
Yep.
And so that's what founder led content is. For the most
Mm-hmm.
part, you see executives and founders, their LinkedIn strategy is to repost company shit or stuff. Sorry, company stuff. I told you one was going to slip out.
That's fine.
Um, to repost company stuff. And that was the
Yeah.
content strategy. That's a
Right.
garbage strategy. Like, if your
Mm-hmm.
strategy is only to repost what the company's putting out, like, that's not a strategy at all. That's just like checking a box of something
Yeah.
that doesn't need to be checked.
Yeah. Oh, the
But
marketing team told me I had to repost
yes,
this.
yes, it's like we're not in that world anymore. Like,
Yeah.
if you are a founder and executive and you are in a B2B space and your buyers are on LinkedIn, you should be, as a leader of a company, you should be putting out founder led content. Like, I'm
Yes.
a firm believer in that. And I'm a firm believer that that's only going to that's only become more important over time. And then to kind of throw gas on top of that, the founders that you're seeing do it really, really good, and the executives are the ones that are doing it on video. And video is, it's LinkedIn's prioritizing it now because of their TikTok video feature. Video is so important right now in social media, to put
Yep.
yourself out there so that we can see the person. Like, hey, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go buy a SaaS product, or I'm not gonna talk to anybody on the sales team. I'm literally 90% of the way there. And guess what? Your SaaS product probably has 3 or 4 other competitors. And if your CEO or your founder continues to put out solid content, especially on video on LinkedIn, and your competitors are not, you have a leg up. And I'm going to immediately go to you as the front runner on
Yeah.
this process, because I like your founder. He or she's put out awesome content. They're funny. I could see myself working with a company like this, with a founder like this. I may not
Mm-hmm.
even talk to any of the other competitors because their founders aren't putting it out there. So it's a huge differentiator right now. And then it also, what our clients tell us, our CEOs that we're working with, is that it helps their sales team accelerate the sales process,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I don't even remember what the question you asked me was. I just went down I just went on a
I
tangent.
wanted you to explain founder-led content in case our
Hopefully
audience
that
is
did
like,
it.
what exactly do you mean by that? Yo, that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. And it's so timely because I was just listening to a podcast yesterday, of LinkedIn person that I follow. I was listening to her podcast. She was kind of talking about like what to pay attention to this year in terms of content and the algorithm and those sorts of things. And she had a whole segment where she talked about investing your marketing budget into content that's going on your company page is just not where it's at. Like, you're not going to see results for that. And, posting there, and this is kind of what I've told my clients too, but I'm going to lean even heavily that way this year for sure, is like, okay, you might want to post there a couple times a month just so that it's current and it's,
Yeah.
your company page doesn't look like, are they still in business? I don't know. But really investing in that, whether it is founder led for sure, and other employees. I know that that's the focus of her podcast, is really like encouraging your employees and getting their buy-in and get them to help with this whole LinkedIn strategy, because just posting on a company page isn't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. We have a client that is CEO of a business, and we've been working with them for about 6 or 7 months, doing a great job. Like, we love working with each other. Like, he's great. He is like whatever you need me to do, I will do it. I trust you guys. He's that type. So it's awesome to work with him, and his content has taken off. Strategy's taken off. It's helped the business. So he's bringing in 4 or 5 people on his team to also do this and run this strategy. So what I'd like to see, what I think is going to be the norm, and it should be the norm, is that all businesses, B2B space, any business, I think, starts to adapt this model of we want it to be almost like a culture of content creators
Yeah.
because yes, it can be just the founder, it can be just the executive, but when you've got an entire culture that like doesn't feel like they've got chains on, that like can speak their voice, that's
Mm-hmm.
so important. And we haven't even talked about the benefits from a recruiting standpoint that this is massive benefits from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where all of it goes. And I think that we're just at the tip of the iceberg. And like I said before, like it or hate it, LinkedIn is the platform for it right
Yep.
now. Right.
Yeah. It's funny because hearing you talk brings me back to my corporate days. And my last role, I was supporting a sales team as their marketing manager. And I was supporting a sales team and I wanted them so badly to use LinkedIn. And it's such an uphill battle and so challenging. But I do think, more and more that's going to be the case. That's what's going to move the needle.
Well, I think that you're going to get the younger generation, the Gen Zs, the millennials, like the younger millennials that are going to be becoming leaders that are going to make this not an option, like it's going to be mandatory. And they all
Yeah.
do it anyway right now. So a lot of the
Yeah.
salespeople, I'm guessing, and I don't want to assume,
They
but a lot
weren't
of,
that old. They weren't that old.
okay, all right. Maybe it was outside of their comfort zone then.
Yes, yes, for sure. Which
Um,
is hilarious to me because the comfort zone was cold calling. So I'm like, wouldn't you rather like this? I don't know. Like I personally would rather be creating content that like draws my audience in instead of calling people who don't want to hear from me. But
yeah, yeah,
different
very
cultures.
true. Yeah. Demand gen
So
versus lead gen.
yes, exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh, Jared, I feel like we could go on and on, but for the sake of time, I think we're going to have to wrap things up here. I do want to give you a chance to share kind of any last thoughts on this topic that we've talked about. I know, you know, to me, this conversation, what I'm taking away from it is the common marketing missteps and mishaps you're seeing with business owners are not prioritizing things. And, inserting my own opinion here, using time as the excuse, but you're really just not prioritizing it, not getting over maybe some uncomfortableness with different marketing tactics you haven't done. And, the other thing is kind of relying on your company brand to be the brand of your business. And that's not the way of marketing anymore. So those are kind of the things that I've taken away from this conversation. But is there anything else that you want to add?
Um, there's so much that comes with all of this, and I have this things right here that's starting like it's posted up next to me. I've got a bunch of shit posted everywhere, but it says there's never a perfect time to start. Start anyway. Like if you start doing this, or if you've done it in the past and it feels uncomfortable, like power through it. Like
Yeah.
what always happens is that you're going to post some content in the beginning. You're going to get a bunch of clicks. You'll get likes. You'll get comments. It's because you're not like you people haven't seen you. So you're going to get a
Mhm.
bunch of friends and family that are liking whatever. There's a dip that will happen if you're consistent. Like I'm going to be consistent with this. I'm going to keep doing it. After maybe the third or fourth post, you're going to start to see a dip. And at the bottom of this dip is when most people quit. They're like, this doesn't work. I'm not doing this anymore. Nobody likes my
Yeah.
content, whatever. Anything you false narrative you're creating in your head is what you're saying at this dip. If you power through that dip and come back on the other side of it, that's where the magic happens with it, not the initial post. Getting through
Yep.
that dip and just being consistent and keep going with it because you learn a lot about what content works, what content doesn't work, and you learn a lot about yourself too while you're
Hmm.
going through this process. So if you make it a priority, be consistent with it and don't look for results after 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Like it's going to take time, but you're going to start to hear people say like, hey, I've been following your content, like it's great, like keep it going, like all this stuff. That person's never liked, commented on anything. You're going to get clients from it that have
Yep.
never liked or commented on anything. So the strategy works if you're consistent with it. I guess that's
Yes.
what I have.
1000% yes, I totally agree with Jared. Okay, lastly, Jared, if anyone wants to learn more about what you and your team at Outworks are doing, what is the best way for them to learn more and get in touch?
So LinkedIn, obviously. You find me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email, Jared, Jared @outworks.io.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jared. I appreciate you coming on the show. And I feel like I'm going to have you back again because I feel like there's so many more things we could cover.
Recurring guest, I'm in. Let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Sounds good.
Thanks, Chris.